The epic collection nobody demanded, and yet everybody's going to buy anyway. Marvel's going to make a ton of money off of this because it just has Venom on it, and that's how it goes. Welcome, everybody. This is John Delarose, delarose.com, DELARROZ.com, and you can roll over to my newsletter, which is in the description below, get a free graphic novel for signing up, so please do so. All right. Venom Epic Collection Volume 1, Symbiosis. I think this was meant to be kind of in tandem with like more Venom movies or whatnot. I don't know what they were doing. But this reprints a lot of the Spider-Man versus Venom omnibus, which is about half of that omnibus, which covers just parts of a lot of storylines. And then you see there's the ones that are mentioned here, but there's a lot of other issues that like they get 1 or 2 pages in here, and it really just covers all of Venom's history. It's pretty complete, which is great, except for the fact that all this Amazing Spider-Man stuff, and I believe even Web of Spider-Man #1, is all in Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collections already. So if you're reading through that, it's kind of a better way to do things than to just get a Venom specific one, unless you're only getting a Venom specific one, which maybe there's some people out there who are doing that. That'd be interesting. If you're picking up Venom and not Spider-Man, let me know who you are, because he comes from, he's very much tied to Spider-Man, so it's, I don't know. In Avengers Death Trap, the Vault is actually in the Avengers Epic Collection, the Collector's Obsession. So that is already printed in Epic Collection also. So you get a little bit of material from other stuff, which is nice, but it's not that much. It's just a few pages. So really the only reason to get this volume is Darkhawk 13 and 14, which is not collected anywhere else, except for that Venom omnibus, Venom versus Spider-Man omnibus, as mentioned. So I don't know, maybe it's just easy for them to reprint the material from an omnibus because it's already set up and already ready to go. And that's why this exists. Maybe it's a movie thing. Maybe it's just a cash grab of Venom. But all this stuff is just like already pretty much printed in other Epic collections and omnibuses. So I wasn't thrilled to get it. But I grew up reading Spider-Man, and I got my first issue was Amazing Spider-Man 375, which is not in here. But that has Venom tangling with Spider-Man on the cover, and it has a foil cover that's gold. And at 9 years old, I was super stoked to have that. And so Venom holds like this like very dear spot in my heart, to where I read this right away. And I've read all of these stories before, except for the Darkhawk ones, as mentioned. So I'm very intimately familiar with everything. This is the origin of the black costume from Secret Wars. And then we get to see the black costume as it gets ripped away from Peter. It only lasted a couple months before. Apparently, Marvel got such angry comments about the black costume that they killed it right away, even though it was super popular for real. But the letters they got made them think it wasn't. Very interesting. This is by Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz at the beginning, who are my favorite creative team, period. A lot of people probably know that who follow the channel. I love the way Ron Frenz draws. I love the way Tom DeFalco just writes storylines. So you get kind of the wrap-up of that, and the Fantastic Four get rid of his costume with some like Sonic-y type stuff. And this is where we get into excerpts, which are not listed on here. So you get all these little excerpts from, you know, this thing's in, what is this, Amazing Spider-Man 260, and it's contained with the Fantastic Four. And then this is actually from Fantastic Four during John Byrne's run, and it escapes from Fantastic Four, and then it comes back, and we get several different little vignettes. And I read the Black Widow Epic Collection, and there's a bunch of vignettes like that covering the Avengers, but these are so much more clear. These are just like little one-page things that like were really teasing Venom as it goes along. And here it shows up in Peter's closet, and then it goes into Web of Spider-Man #1. It actually works a lot better in this form than it did in the Black Widow one. So this was pretty nice. It is a complete history of Venom. And in this one, the symbiote rebonds with Spider-Man, and he tangles with these new vultures. And you get this classic scene with the church bells where the sound separates Peter and it kind of runs away. But it does carry Peter off into safety. So as it melts away and sort of, quote, dies. then we get some more vignettes, which kind of show that there's this thing trying to harm Peter, which he doesn't see, and his spider senses don't notice it. And we get some excerpts about that. And then it goes into 299. We're getting into Todd McFarlane's run with David Michelini, however you pronounce it, at this point. And the big 300. I had this issue, of course. I sold it for a good amount when I went into collecting omnibuses because I just didn't need the single issues anymore. But I really dislike Todd McFarlane's art. So even though I like the storytelling in this a little bit, like get MJ in some lingerie, but you know, he does these things where he like almost does anime eyes at points, but he doesn't, and it's never consistent, and I just don't dig it. So, and he does these Spider-Man, these wacky poses. Of course, that became synonymous with Spider-Man. But Venom shows up here. He's Eddie Brock, spoiler, a disgraced reporter who blames Spider-Man for his failures. And so he's going to kill Spider-Man. And he's pumping iron because this is the 90s. And he's crushing things because this is the 90s. And he's got Uber webs, and he's just Uber because this is the 90s. And they go back to the church and have a battle, and Peter finally takes him down. And that's kind of what goes on in most of these stories, is we get some Venom returning. He escapes from the vault, believe it or not. I think he escapes from the vault 4 or 5 times during this epic collection proper. And is this into Eric Larson's art? I think so. Looks like, to me, this looks Eric Larson-y. No, it's still Todd McFarlane. Okay, sorry. But yeah, Eric Larson at some point takes over, and he's very similar in what he does with a lot of this Todd McFarlane stuff. But Todd McFarlane's actually growing, as you can tell by sort of this sort of panel here. He does a little better later than he did in those early issues, but he's really developing his own style. More pumping iron, more Spider-Man in strange poses, more Mary Jane just being hot, more Spider-Man in strange poses, and finally we get a big knockdown, drag-out fight. So the fun part about this is Venom actually shows up as Eddie Brock to Aunt May's house. He knows who Peter is because of the whole symbiote, which knows who Peter is. But he's got this twisted sense of honor where he's like, I'm not going to kill the innocents. I'm not going to hurt anybody, and all that. Spider-Man in a pose. Wow. And so he kind of makes fun of Peter a little bit in the way that he shows up, but he's very cautious that he'd never harm Aunt May or anything like that. Very, very interesting. It's cool character stuff. But he wants Spider-Man to come fight him, and so Spider-Man does. And for some reason, alien symbiote unbonds and tries to bond with Peter because it loves Peter, and it leaves Venom in a problem. Avengers Death Trap at the Vault. This is just an escape story, and so this was done in a strange, different graphic novel format, which is a different aspect ratio than the regular comics. So you see there's a white bar across the bottom. It's, instead of trying to stretch the pages all the way, they just compress them, so they're a little smaller, since they were a different size originally. But the Avengers basically go to the vault, and there's an escape going on, and Venom's a part of that escape. And the Freedom Force is there, who's like the Blob and Mystique and all that, but they're quote hired good guys at this point, and the Avengers aren't sure they can trust them. And it's a big knockdown, drag-out fight. It's way too long for what it is, but you know, it's enjoyable. But basically, Venom looks like he's going to escape. He starts escaping. He gets blown up. You think he's gone, and you learn he actually did escape in Quasar here. Now, Quasar 6. You only get, this is a crossover with Acts of Vengeance, which is going on at the time, where different villains are going against different heroes, basically, than they're normal. I love Quasar here, and there's a couple trades of this. It's by Mark Grunwald, and Paul Ryan does the pencils, and I love Paul Ryan's art. But basically, he takes down Venom so fast and sends him back to the vault. Again. Pretty quick. So I think that's 3 times we've shown he's escaped, and now here's the 4th. Guess what? He's escaped again. And at this point, it's Eric Larson. So you can see that Eric Larson is drawing very similarly to Todd McFarlane at this point. And Styx and Stone are here. They're kind of a weird duo, which Styx has this like hands that like gives everybody cancer, and then Stone has just like this biosuit and big gun. It's just kind of a weird thing. They're trying to hunt down Spider-Man on behalf of this guy who's stalking Mary Jane. And you'd get so much more about the storyline and all that in the Spider-Man. If you just read these in order as the Spider-Man stuff, you get a way better soap opera about that. But basically someone's in love with Mary Jane because she's a superstar model and stalking her. And that's what goes down. And Venom gets in the way of all this, comes back to Aunt May's house and shows up, and it's the same story again, pretty much, where he's going to kill Spider-Man again. And they do the fight again. So it gets a little bit redundant by this point. And that's probably why they kind of moved Venom on by that issue 375, because these, you know, it was fun in the first couple times, and now it's getting to be the same thing over and over again. These are some fun little vignettes from when Venom's in prison. Not the Vault, just Riker Island for some reason. But the symbiote comes back, and he escapes again. And this is Cletus Cassidy, who becomes Carnage later. But right now, he's just getting a little drop of symbiote here. A little Symbi sperm, I guess. I don't know. Whatever it is. And that's a classic issue right there. But Venom escapes, and this is one of the most classic storylines here. You get the drawing of the mouth by Venom, which then becomes like this. Apparently, I heard this, I can't confirm this, but Eric Larson didn't like drawing Venom all that much, so he drew his mouth and tongue ridiculous like this, because he just thought it was funny, and it was kind of his way to, I guess, rebel. And then everybody liked it so much, even though he was mocking the design of Venom, that it just kind of became a part of his features. So Mary Jane leaves because Peter's like, get out of town, we can't deal with this. And then he fights Venom again after his escape thing. Here's his long tongue and mouth again as a ridiculous thing. And this is the cover of the actual book, and just one of the most notable drawings of Venom also. So eventually they go to a desert island where he's like hunts Spider-Man like he's game. Felicia Hardy in the background's been here. She's been dating Flash Thompson for a while, but really loves Peter deep down. So she's developing as a character kind of nicely here. She can't help because, gosh, Venom would just kill her. So, and again, Eric Larson just drew Venom ridiculous on purpose. But Venom is left thinking that Spider-Man got killed in an explosion, and Peter Parker runs away and leaves Venom on the island there. So neat stuff, and allows that whole deal to continue. All right, so from here on out, that's pretty much the end of the Spider-Man story out of this for the most part. We get some backup stories about Eddie Brock, and this is where we're starting to learn that he's kind of heroic. He kills bad guys through here, and these all take place like in the early stories at the beginning of this. So it is better to read the stories in order in Amazing Spider-Man first and do it like this. These were in annuals later. Even though this does take place chronologically back then, I still think you get the better feel in this order. So they did do a good job with the mapping on this. But in between the issues, basically, or in between panels in some cases, Venom is doing heroic things, and you learn a couple things. Now, we get into Darkhawk, and this Darkhawk takes place after that last Spider-Man deal. This is neat. I never really read any Darkhawk, and it's written by Danny Fingeroth and drawn by Mike Manley. And I guess there's, 30, 50 issues of this or something like that. But his character's got this like magic amulet, and he swaps places with an android, and then kind of controls the android with his mind. And they steal his amulet at the beginning of this. It ties in with Spider-Man Tombstone a little bit. The art's okay. It's pretty solid standard 90s comics at this point. You get back to like the very traditional panel layouts compared to Larson and McFarlane. But interesting stuff. I mean, I don't know if about the background characters, because there's a bunch of background characters, and he's chasing his father basically, and he ends up on this island crashed where, of course, Venom is, and this is a very poor drawing of Venom. Unfortunately, there's a lot of really poor drawings of Venom. Is how it goes, and Venom gets hit. Just like, look at that. That's just oof. And look at his face here. Very inconsistent. And Venom like talks about killing him for a bit, of course, and then Darkhawk. He lets Darkhawk think he won, and then runs off. And Darkhawk finds his father, who then gets killed at the end of this. And interesting. I mean, I'd be interested in reading the Darkhawk series. So, but not enough of it to really get into it at that point. And then we get 4 more stories, which were in 3 annuals, and for some reason in just a backup as an Amazing Spider-Man, going back again to Venom as, becoming a hero. And this one, some guy he knows is inventing something, and his nephew kind of sells him out to this evil group who wants to use it for profit. And they steal his invention, of course. And Venom kills all of them over the course of this. It's a 4-part story. So I'd never read this before either, so I was pretty happy to read this. This is one of those like early. It reads like a Lethal Protector miniseries a little bit. It's David Michelinie again, who did the original Lethal Protector also. When it gets into the actual Venom miniseries, and Aaron Lopresti, who I'm not familiar with, but again, just like kind of uninspired 90s art. Also. Venom doesn't kill the nephew who sold him out at the end. He's like, look, you learned your lesson here, and, that's it. And then he goes back, and he's going after Spider-Man again. And that's it. You get some early design stuff, some wizard, has some old introduction, has some backups, just some extra art, and that's that. I mean, look, I'm mad that this exists, because it's like I'm gonna get all this material in different epics anyway, and I already have most of it in different epics anyway, if not all of it, except for Darkhawk. So it's a double dip, and it's annoying, but for those who just want to read about Venom and just check out Venom, this is a great spot to do it. I mean, maybe it's nostalgia, but I enjoyed the reads, even if I think some of that 90s art is kind of silly, and some of those 90s plot points are also kind of silly. It's just a lot of fun, and you can't ask for more than that in comics. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10, because I've just got too many reservations about it to give it a little more than that, but I still plowed through it in one night. It's a very fast-paced read, and it's fun. If you like Venom, you're going to enjoy it. If you do want to check out Venom, good spot. If you've already got all the other epics, you can kind of skip it, because you don't need that Darkhawk story. And that's what it comes down to. So that's it. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.